The story begins with Natalia, a young lady working in a convent. She goes to the kitchen and soon gets busy with the chores. It seems to be a mess of a convent, where we see a group of young boys sitting down and having lunch. Among the boys, one particular lad stands out. He keeps glancing back at Natalia. Right after lunch, when everyone leaves, the young boy calls out to the girl and then out of nowhere asks if she is going back now. He happens to be her ex, Lucas. The boy looks terrified for some reason, with dark circles around his eyes and a frail figure. His hands tremble as he talks. Natalia seems unfazed and asks how he is doing, and when he came back. Lucas replies that he is back because he missed her. She quietly looks at him, but soon the boy gets a little mad and bangs the table with his fist. He slowly approaches Natalia, mockingly asking that he has lost the glow, hasn't he? Sorry to hurt you, Lucas, but I think you might be right about that. As Lucas approaches, Natalie stands her ground and asks him to calm down. The boy gets near and slowly takes out the necklace that he wears. After adamantly sharing news that she'll have to leave soon, he hands her the pendant with a crucifix, claiming it's for her protection, and the boy soon leaves. Now, all alone, Natalia is puzzled by his cryptic words. But before long, a nun approaches her, saying that the Mother Superior is looking for her. Natalia wears the pendant and goes to greet Mother Superior. There, the woman greets her with grim tidings. Something bad has happened with her parents. They got into an accident. Sadly, her mother passed away and her father is gravely injured. The nun insists she return home immediately. Natalia looks shaken but strangely asks the nun to let her stay there. She mentions that she does not want to go home. Hearing this, the nun reminds her that the convent is not a place to hide and she must go home. It is extremely odd to know that her parents are in danger, yet the girl refuses to go home. As Natalia prepares to leave, she observes the other girls at the convent, glowing with a radiant aura as bright as the sun. In a strange turn of events, Natalia discovers she possesses the unique gift of seeing people's auras, revealing whether they harbor goodness or malevolence. The next morning, Natalia packs her small belongings and sets off back home. Her journey home by train takes an eerie twist when she has a haunting vision of a mysterious girl. The girl stands near a tree in a forest, wearing a haunting white dress. Startled, she awakens with a sense of foreboding. Arriving home, she is greeted with a dozen letters littering the floor. The house seems eerily dark and quiet. As she enters, Natalia encounters the maid and her sister's boyfriend named Moro. The maid informs her that her father is upstairs and tells her that her sister asked the maid to come in for work. Natalia nods and rushes upstairs to find him in a grievous state. The room is filled with canvases. Her father's eyes are open, but they look unfocused. Slowly, she approaches and calls out to the man, who does not respond. Soon, Angela appears and tells her the unsettling truth. She believes that their mother had been under the influence of an evil spirit, displaying bizarre behavior such as locking herself in the attic and dabbling in dark magic. Shockingly, all the paintings in the attic are creations of their mother, presumably made with blood as ink. The tragic revelation continues as it's disclosed that their mother once harmed by slashing, and their father had tried to intervene, resulting in a severe injury. Now, their father is left in a traumatized, speechless state. Angela looks exhausted. Her face is pale and ghostly. When Natalia asks if the red paint is really blood, she retorts by suggesting mockingly to ask their mute father, the so-called family doctor. It seems that her sister does not have a good relationship with their father. After saying this, Angela leaves the room, commenting to never come back here again. Natalia also leaves the room after her and they get into an argument. Angela tells her how her mother got strangely detached from their father and used to spend time in the attic. She angrily spats that now her father has settled in this evil room. Angela has a strange wound on her arm that Natalia notices. When she tries to calm her sister, Angela blames her for leaving her alone in this hellhole. She says that Natalia must have seen something sinister in the house and ran away. Their mother tried warning Angela but couldn't speak. Nevertheless, Angela is convinced that some evil entity possessed their mother and made her do all kinds of black magic and witchcraft. Natalia scolds her sister for being delusional. Tensions run high among the siblings, with Natalia shouldering the blame for her absence, leaving her sister to face their tumultuous family situation alone. Angry and hurt, Angela leaves. Stressed out by her sister and her family's situation, Natalia goes to take a shower and blow off some steam. While in the shower, she hears strange devilish chants. All of a sudden, she feels something touching her feet and snaps out of her reverie to see cockroaches. Just then, she hears noise coming from downstairs. Getting out of the shower, she follows the noise, where she finds herself amidst her sister's boyfriend and college friends, including Osvaldo, Mara, and Abel. Moro seems like a very rude and outspoken guy. Things take an uncomfortable turn when he crosses the line by taunting Natalia about her virginity and suggestively asking her to come join them. Angela gets angry at him and asks him to shut it. She pushes his shoulder a little, but the situation escalates when Moro aggressively shoves Angela aside. Chaos ensues when, out of the blue, Abel steps in and delivers a punch to Moro's face, forcefully pushing him away. The group manages to cool down the heated exchange. Moro eventually leaves the place and Abel settles back down. He seems rather frail and strangely sick. Meanwhile, Natalia rushes to her sister's aid, who has gone outside. She brings first aid, but Angela refuses. After insisting, she finally takes the cotton and stops her bloody nose. The sisters sit side by side on the swing and smoke. Angela then shares her suspicions about how their father is hiding something from them. That is why he wouldn't talk. Natalia does not believe her. Angela then shares how she got pregnant after Natalia left home. She did not know the father and was scared, so she decided to abort the child without telling their father. After undergoing the secret abortion, their mother's situation at home worsened. She started drawing strange haunting imagery of the human uterus. As their mother's condition worsened, according to Angela, their father so that Natalia would come back home. What's more is that Angela has deep suspicions about their true bloodline. She believes that the parents that raised them since childhood are not their real parents. For this reason, Angela has decided to perform a ritual and find out. She would be using a sacred plant and tiger to perform this ritual, which would apparently show her what her parents have been hiding from. She pleads with Natalia to join them because she also deserves to know the truth, but her sister merely declines. She says that Angela is ignoring the reality of what lies before them. Frustrated with her sister's stubbornness to not believe in her, Angela leaves after informing her that they'll be departing the next day. As she rejoins her friends, Natalia watches them glow in a pure white light. Just then, she looks up into the attic and sees someone with a dark shadow standing. Later, Natalia explores the attic and stumbles upon her mother's unsettling paintings, which curiously resemble women's uteri. It strikes her as peculiar when she notices that the pendant gifted by her ex bears a resemblance to this human organ as well. Turns out, Angela wasn't lying about her mother painting these things. Each and every painting gives off an evil aura, and Natalia is terrified of even touching them. Closing the lamp, she settles down on the sofa when she starts hearing strange murmurs. As Natalia falls asleep on the couch, she once again finds herself in the unsettling scene where she encountered the same eerie girl. There is an addition of a statue though. As she approaches the statue, she feels something lurking behind her. While walking, she also hears the cries of children in the background. The eerie girl from before, resembling a uterus, emerges behind her and launches an attack on Natalia. Screaming with fear, the poor girl awakens and finds herself face to face with her father. All of a sudden, a mysterious noise emanates from the wardrobe, prompting Natalia to investigate. To her surprise, the sound seems to be originating from behind the wallpaper. She peels it away and discovers an unsettling sight. Disgustingly, dozens of bugs emerge from behind the peeling. She gags at the ugly sight and slowly moves back. Just as she's about to leave, the haunting girl from her visions appears behind the closet door, her ghostly figure contorting and lunging at Natalia. The girl screams and shouts, flailing her arms around to throw away the threat, but she soon realizes that it was just a hallucination. The next morning, Natalia awakens at the couch where she vividly remembers last night's happening. Feeling anxious, she revisits the wardrobe, but her moment is abruptly interrupted by Moro. The man forcefully grabs her and shamelessly attempts to harass the poor girl. Thankfully, someone seems to approach the room. Thus, he eventually decides to leave, but not before warning her to keep quiet about what he did. He warns her that if Angela leaves him, he would just get rid of her. As Moro leaves, Natalia runs to a washroom to get rid of his ugly scent on her. Afterwards, sits near her father, praying desperately for his well-being and recovery. Later that day, concerned about her sister's safety, poor Natalia resolves to join her on the spiritual journey to shield her from Moro's potential harm. The group splits into two, with Moro and Angela opting for a motorcycle while Natalia rides in the car with the others. During the journey, Osvaldo reveals that this isn't their first experience with such rituals, though they will receive guidance from a shaman. They reveal information about a plant that is used in the ritual, which is said to have spiritual powers. It can go into your subconscious and reveal hidden memories. The shaman is quoted saying that the cures the diseases of the soul. Mara says that the plant is a kind of sacred thing among the indigenous people, who call it the rope of the deceased because it allows the soul to come out of the body without perishing. Hearing all this, Abel points out a good question, asking what would happen if the body is disposed of during the ritual while the soul is out. His question is met with a vague answer, stating that the shaman will probably take care of it. The group eventually boards a boat to reach their destination. In conversations with her companions, Natalia learns that the location they're headed to was once a monastery, later converted into a mental hospital notorious for its involvement in activities, particularly abortions. The group halts near the abandoned monastery, but turns out Angela and Moro are yet to arrive. They decide to wait for them to catch up. Meanwhile, feeling curious, Natalia ventures into the surrounding forest. The poor girl is terrified to discover the very place she had seen in her visions. The same statue stands there in the same terrifying tree opposite. She carefully examines the monuments but is soon startled by an elderly woman. The woman extends a hand towards the pendant but shortly retreats it. Natalia asks if she saw her friends, and the older woman declines, shaking her head. The woman advises Natalia that it's not an opportune moment to conduct the rituals they've come for, and also warns her about one of her companions lying. Afterward, Natalia delves deeper into the forest and stumbles upon an entrance to the abandoned monastery. Soon, Abel also enters the place and finds her inside, where the two strike up a conversation. Natalia feels a strong connection with Abel, who happens to be the son of a priest but has been afflicted with cerebral palsy, a condition gradually deteriorating his nervous system. He opens up to her about his disease, and how he had been more or less isolated from people since he can remember. Feeling strangely compelled, Natalia opens up to Abel about her unique ability to see auras, describing it more as a burden than a blessing. She explains how people sometimes emit a radiant or dark light to her discerning eyes. Abel also shares his own reasons for being there. He reveals that he hopes the ritual can cure his debilitating condition, as Osvaldo told him it would. But he himself is not 100% sure. Their conversation is interrupted by Osvaldo and Mara, who insist it's time to press on since daylight is waning. On the way, Natalia mentions the elderly woman she encountered earlier, but Osvaldo dismisses it, claiming the nuns have long abandoned the monastery. The place is desolate and too empty. It does not even have a signal, making it almost impossible to reach the outside world. As they arrive at the sacred site, they come across Moro and Angela attempting to gain entry. The shaman says that the site prohibits drinking and our boy Moro cannot keep his hands away from his pack. Thus, his frustration escalates when the shaman denies him access to the ritual site. Angela says that she would go in, but her boyfriend drags her away since he cannot go in. When Angela tries to struggle, he throws her aside, making the poor girl fall. The group comes to her rescue and he quickly becomes menacing. He brandishes a knife and threatens everyone. In the meantime, Mara, in a desperate move, takes out a gun and points it at him, forcing Moro to retreat. Inside the building, Natalia sits with her sister, who is grateful for her present. Following the crazy tense encounter, the group is welcomed into the room where the ritual will take place. On the way, Natalia tries to give her pendant to her sister for protection, but Angela refuses. Watching the heartbroken girl, Abel moves forth and gives her his watch. This gesture melts her heart and she gives him the pendant. As they move forward, Natalia, in her usual fashion, checks the shaman's aura and finds it emitting a brilliant light. He gazes back at Natalia and she hears a strange voice that expresses that they have been anticipating her arrival. Following the consumption of the shaman's potion, each member of the group reclines on the floor, embarking on their own unique journey. As everyone, except Natalia, lies down, the shaman begins playing a tune on his flute and the people start twitching, as if they are having visions. She warily watches them and slowly lies back too. All of a sudden, Angela experiences convulsions. Natalia approaches her and hears her expressing distress over her father's alleged involvement in her suffering. She claims he's concealed within the wardrobe and linked to dark magic. Natalia pleads with the shaman to aid her sister, but instead, he administers another potion to her after saying that he knows about the prophecy and she must not be afraid. Natalia, after drinking the potion, undergoes vivid visions. She witnesses a disturbing scene where a woman gives birth during a sinister satanic ritual. Shockingly, she recognizes the masked man conducting the ritual as her own father. He wields a dagger, extracting a baby doll from a statue's womb before placing it on a table and savagely staining the woman's belly with blood. Overwhelmed by horror, Natalia flees and returns to the monastery, where she encounters 3 nuns. She begs them to help the woman, but they do not listen to her. Shortly thereafter, the victim of the satanic ritual crawls inside in pain, desperately seeking assistance. The nuns discern that the satanic cult attempted to perform an abortion on her. In this unsettling revelation, Natalia realizes that the victim is none other than her own mother, named Clara. The devil had possessed her and sought to claim her unborn child as well. The nuns make valiant efforts to assist her in giving birth, but the malevolent force takes control, forcefully pushing one of the nuns, named Gregoria, against the wall. Following the intense struggle, the nuns manage to restrain Natalia's possessed mother. 2 nuns hold her legs while Gregoria tries to deliver the baby. Temporarily, they succeed in subduing the devil, placing a crucifix similar to Natalia's on the possessed mother's forehead. This momentary respite allows them to change the mother's position, facilitating the birth. The nun encourages the possessed mother to hang on and push the baby out. Fortunately, the baby girl is born and is named Natalia, after which the nuns swiftly take her away. Gregoria feels happy and relieved, but her happiness is short-lived. In a chilling twist, the devil still retains control over Natalia's mother, and disturbingly begins removing her ovaries. It disturbingly chants Natalia to be the devil's own blood and flesh, and hurls the bloody organs at Natalia, causing her to jolt awake in sheer panic. The alarm rings, and Natalia realizes that 6 hours have passed since the commencement of the ritual. Surveying her surroundings, she finds nothing but the group's abandoned clothes. While quickly putting on her clothes, she hears an unsettling noise echoing in the hallway, and goes out to investigate. There, she encounters a terrified Mara clutching the gun and confessing her fear that the devil remains present, and they won't be allowed to leave. The girl is crying hysterically. In the midst of the chaos, Mara discloses that the gun she's been clutching belonged to her deceased father. She brought it to the ritual in hopes of communicating with him, as it held deep personal significance. But now she feels trapped by the devil who won't leave her alone. Overwhelmed by desperation, Natalia begs the girl to hand over the gun to her, but she does not listen. All of a sudden, Mara abruptly in the head, believing it to be a means of reaching her father. Choked with fear, Natalia rushes into the hallway, where she encounters a figure seated in a chair. Drawing closer, she realizes it's Osvaldo, but he's horrifically mutilated, with empty eye sockets and a body covered in wounds. Her horrified scream is silenced when Moro suddenly appears behind her, forcefully muffling her cries. Natalia begins to suspect that Moro might be responsible for Osvaldo's gruesome fate, but he claims he arrived after hearing her screams. Turning around, Natalia stumbles upon the lifeless body of the shaman's assistant, intensifying her fear. She flees into a room, hastily barricading the door with a piece of wood. Inside, she discovers a shaken Abel, still in tears. It's then that Natalia makes the grim discovery of her sister's eyeless corpse lying on the floor. Abel explains that he found her in that state, As the poor girl is grieving near her sister's corpse, the boy becomes hysterical. He starts playing a drum and laughs maniacally. He admits to hearing voices in the room and reveals the unsettling truth, stating that the satanic cults had conducted their sinister rites within this very building. Furthermore, he confesses that he was brought to one of these rituals as a child in an attempt to cure his illness. Abel tells her that now he remembers who he is and that the voices he heard since childhood were the devil's. He is not mental but rather possessed. Saying that, the possessed Abel gets up and approaches the shaman's corpse. He then ruthlessly pulls apart his head and throws it at poor Natalia. The girl stands frozen to her spot, terrified of moving a muscle. As the dismembered head falls near her feet, she screams and attempts to escape but to no avail. Abel reaches her in an instant and grabs the poor girl. He starts touching her inappropriately, saying that now she will serve him just like her mother did. Just then, fortunately for her, Moro arrives and kicks Abel aside. He then discovers Angela's mutilated body and goes crazy. How can anyone, except himself of course, hit his girl? Taking out his knife, he tries to attack Abel. The possessed boy easily counters the attack and pushes Moro away. He then pounces on the boy and like a beast, flesh and blood. The sight makes Natalia's skin crawl and she rushes out in fear. After running for a while, she stumbles near a tree outside and is rescued by the same old woman whom she met in the afternoon. The next morning, Natalia awakens in a strange place, still haunted by the unsettling events she experienced. To her surprise, the old lady from before sits by her side. She reveals her true identity as one of the nuns who aided Natalia's mother during childbirth in the past. She explains that Abel shares a similar dark origin, as he was also born during a satanic ritual where the devil sought to claim their souls. At that time, the nuns managed to protect them from the devil's grasp. However, the devil's influence has drawn them back to this ominous place, and their encounter with the malevolent force now seems inevitable. The old lady discloses that the devil spared Natalia's life at birth because he desired to regain what he had lost, a child. Furthermore, she reveals that the devil gave Natalia a name at birth, and finding out this name is crucial to breaking free from the devil's influence. With this knowledge, the old lady and Natalia return to the sacred place to confront and exorcise Abel. They find him sleeping in a room, and the old lady creates a protective circle of salt around him. She explains that the salt will imprison the demon within, preventing it from escaping. Then, she hands Natalia a potion and instructs her to make Abel drink it as part of their ritual. After drinking the potion, the possessed Abel awakens and attempts to break free from the salt circle that confines him, but the barrier holds him back. The old lady begins reciting prayers, but her efforts alone are insufficient to exorcise the demon's influence from him. In a terrifying turn of events, the demon sets fire to the salt circle in an attempt to free itself. He commands Natalia to throw up rocks, and within the devil's grasp, she horrifically vomits a disturbing swarm of insects and rocks. Gradually, the demon tightens its grip on Natalia, showing the old woman that the girl is his possession. In a desperate attempt to save her, the nun makes Natalia consume the holy potion too. Unfortunately, this has no effect on her, and the possessed Natalia violently throws the old lady to the ground. The impact makes the salt circle caging Abel charred and weaken. The possessed Abel manages to escape and tragically takes out the old lady. Watching this dreadful scene, Natalia passes out. The following morning, Natalia awakens within the remnants of the salt circle. She sees Abel sitting down in a corner with the bunch of corpses accompanying him. She pulls out the gun and slowly stands up, calling the devil. When he attempts to attack her, he is thwarted by the protective barrier created by the salt. A connection between Natalia and Abel allows her to alter his aura temporarily, returning him to his normal self for a brief moment. He reveals that he discovered Natalia's true name, Luciferina, from the devil. The moment is disrupted when the devil starts stirring inside Abel. He tells Natalia to run away before he comes back. Now that her name is discovered, she is free from the devil's grasp and he no longer holds any control over her. She runs for her life, leaving the poor possessed Abel behind. She safely reaches the boat, but her heart hurts for Abel. Since she knows that the devil wants a child, she decides to devise a plan to complete the exorcism and save Abel too. Natalia arrives at the monastery, the very place she was born, and undresses. She calls out to the devil, enticing him with the promise of sin. As they engage in intercourse, Natalia finally completes the exorcism and drives the devil out of Abel. Although her plan succeeds, Abel passes away. Several months later, we see a pregnant Natalia sitting in the same church that she used to work at. The Mother Superior arrives. Natalia seems worried for her child since she knows that the devil would be back for it. The movie ends with the nun reassuring her that she is in safe hands.